October 1781. Virginia's fields tremble under the boots of thousands. In the small town of Yorktown, the fate of a nation hangs in the balance. On one side, the world's most powerful empire. On the other, a ragtag army of revolutionaries, led by a tall Virginian and backed by a surprising European ally. What happens next will end a war and create a country. This is the story of the Siege of Yorktown, the final, thunderous chapter of the American Revolutionary War. By 1781, the American Revolution had raged for over 6 bloody years. The British had captured cities like New York and Charleston, but they couldn't crush the spirit of rebellion. General George Washington was growing desperate. Supplies were thin. Morale was thinner. And the Continental Army, scarred, hungry, and unpaid. Then came a lifeline, from across the Atlantic. France, long an enemy of Britain, had thrown its support behind the revolution. With troops under the Comte de Rochambeau and a powerful fleet commanded by Admiral de Grasse, the tide was about to turn. Washington originally planned to attack New York City, but fate and French advice led his eyes southward, to a small port town called Yorktown, Virginia. Why Yorktown? Because British General Charles Cornwallis had made a critical error. General Cornwallis had been chasing rebels across the Carolinas. He thought Virginia would be a safer stronghold. So, he marched his army, some 8,000 men, to Yorktown, where he hoped British ships could resupply and protect him from the sea. But what he didn't know was that the French fleet had already set sail, and British reinforcements wouldn't arrive in time. Trapped between Washington's army on land and a French blockade at sea, Cornwallis had walked straight into a perfect trap. In a masterstroke of deception, Washington pretended he was preparing to attack New York. British spies swallowed the bait. Then, in secret, Washington and Rochambeau marched 400 miles south, through blazing heat and rough terrain. It was one of the greatest troop movements of the war. By late September, a massive force of over 17,000 Allied troops surrounded Yorktown, twice the size of Cornwallis's army. Artillery was hauled into position. Trenches were dug. And on September 28, 1781, the siege began. For weeks, the Allies rained down fire. Cannonballs shattered British defenses day and night. Yorktown became a smoking ruin. But the final blow came on October 14th, in a daring night assault. 2 key British redoubts, heavily fortified positions, were captured in hand-to-hand combat. One of them was stormed by American troops led by a young officer, Alexander Hamilton. Yes, that Alexander Hamilton. With those redoubts lost, Cornwallis's position was hopeless. On October 17, 1781, white flags rose over Yorktown. Cornwallis surrendered 2 days later. Over 7,000 British troops laid down their arms, marching silently as a band played a song called "The World Turned Upside Down." But Cornwallis himself? He didn't attend the surrender. He claimed to be ill. Instead, he sent his second-in-command, who tried to surrender to the French. Rochambeau refused, pointing to Washington. Washington, in turn, refused and pointed to his own second-in-command. Even in victory, honor was complicated. The Battle of Yorktown didn't just end a siege, it ended a war. News of the British defeat shook Parliament. Within months, negotiations began. And in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed. The United States of America, free, independent, and sovereign, was born. All because of Yorktown. All because Washington, Hamilton, the French allies, and thousands of ordinary soldiers refused to give up. It was the moment the impossible became inevitable. The fields of Yorktown are silent now. But if you walk among the old earthworks, you might still hear echoes of musket fire, of cannon blasts, of history being made. This was the Siege of Yorktown. The day the world turned upside down.